This episode of Going Forward is brought to you by Optmyzr, an award-winning PPC management tool used by advertisers worldwide. Save time and boost the performance of your PPC campaigns on Facebook, Amazon, and Google or Microsoft. Get a 14-day free trial at optmyzr.com/go/VIP.
Welcome to Going Forward, where inspiring conversations with leaders and entrepreneurs shape tomorrow. Dive into the depths of their journeys, the hurdles they've overcome, and the insights they bring to the future. Let's get moving right here, right now on Going Forward.
Going Forward Nation, what's going on? This is your host, Elliott, and today, you guys always hear me say I got this special guest, but man, I feel like this guy is like a kindred spirit. He's one of the good guys. He's one of the thumbs up guys in Charleston, and they're making their way all around the state. I got Mr. Brandon Dawson from Miller Dawson Siegel and Ward with me on the line. Brandon, say hello to Going Forward Nation.
Eric, hey man, so glad to be here. It's been too long since you and I have had an opportunity to catch up, but like you said, kindred spirits. It's
man.
Pick up right where we left off in the last conversation. So glad to be here. Love that intro, man. That was the whole thing, man. Everything you're doing has been amazing. I've loved following your journey, and man, I'm so excited to have a conversation. You know, I continue to listen to the different podcasts you've put out, and I've really loved, you know, the guests you've had on here from George Sink to Bill Biggs and everybody in between, man. Some amazing people on here. So I'm just really honored to be, you know, across the screen from you.
Man, I appreciate you, brother. And I'm not going to botch your resume at all, but I have to tell this audience, you know, some of the things about you. Brandon is one of the founding members of Miller Dawson Siegel and Ward, and they're popularly known as those thumbs up guys. And I will tell you, I see Brandon and his team and his partners as more than just, you know, some lawyers who are out for the grab. I'm just going to tell you that. I've seen Brandon do things in the community and really mean it. I mean, not just for pub. I mean, he really, really means it. And so today we're going to talk about, you know, what that means for you and giving back, you know, what kind of kid you were, what brought you to where you are, you know, how the firm's doing. But, you know, Brandon, it's a pleasure to know you. It's a pleasure to be able to talk to you today. And I look forward to sharing your story with Going Forward Nation, brother. You want to dive in?
I'm excited to share the story and, you know, dive deep into these topics.
Yeah. Well, first off, I'm gonna give a shout out to your better half. That's Miss Jessica.
Yes.
I'm gonna give her a shout out.
I wouldn't be here without her. She's amazing. Right. She, you know, keeps me young, keeps me spry, keeps me on my toes. She's just an amazing wife, and I'm super lucky to have her as a wife, a travel partner. You know, an amazing mother, amongst many other things, amazing artist. She's so talented at everything she does. On top of that, she'll constantly remind me that she is the smarter lawyer of the two of us.
That's something too, because both of you guys are lawyers, and not every every lawyer can have a wife who's also, you know, a lawyer too. So does that help you? And then, I mean, what's that dynamic like in the house with two lawyers?
Yeah, you know, I think sometimes if you don't know us, you think that we're maybe constantly arguing, but in reality, that's just kind of how we deal with things. Is everything's, you know, we got to look at it from all the different angles. So in reality, we're not really mad at each other. We're just having a debate,
right?
And it's a healthy debate.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think from the outside looking in, somebody might, you know, go, man, they're like constantly just
right.
Each other. No, it's just a healthy debate. And so sometimes I have to remind myself that I don't have to, you know, debate everything, and certain things aren't worth, you know, sleeping on the couch for.
No depositions at the dinner table is what you're saying, brother. Right?
That's right. That's right.
You know, Brandon, you know, you have such an interesting story. You know, one of the founding members of Miller Dawson Siegel and Ward, and I think kind of before all this happened, man. You know, Clemson grad. You know, grew up here. I mean, what kind of pushed you towards that spot to say, like, you know, I want to be a lawyer? I mean, you know, I know it's kind of a loaded question, but what really pushed you towards that, man?
Yeah, I think, you know, I always enjoyed helping people and solving problems. And when you kind of look at what sort of careers give you that opportunity, you know, being a lawyer really kind of stuck out for me. You know, I've had different times in my life where people have helped me out and difficult times. I know you and I have talked about this.
Yeah,
We
man.
both lost some parents. I lost my dad when I was 9. And that really shaped, who I was and who I am today. It's crazy to think that was 30 years ago this year. I'm now older than he was when he passed away. And I remember that hit 2 years ago. And I remember thinking, he was so old, right? And I knew he was young. I mean, he's 37 at the time.
Yeah. Mine too. 37.
But he was, to me, he was his dad, right? He was old. And then all of a sudden you hit that age and you're like, that's not old at all. And again, you knew it as a kid. It wasn't supposed to happen. But you did feel like they were old. And so really it's been an interesting last couple of years, rolling through these different stages of life. And, I just use that as, an opportunity to remind myself that every day is a blessing. Tomorrow's not guaranteed, and, to be the best version of yourself today. I mean, I think about that so often, with my kids, and, when's the last time that my son or my daughter are going to want to let me, snuggle up with them in bed? Sometimes you go, gosh, this is, I just want to go downstairs and watch Monday Night Football. And then, and then I have to take a step back and go, what if tomorrow they're like, nah, I don't want you in here. So I really do think that it shaped me a lot in how I think about things. That's obviously just kind of one example, but every day is a blessing. And I know you think the same way.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, like you said, we do share some of those same stories, man. And I was going to ask you that, but you kind of answered that question for me. Like, does, you're growing up, does that help you to become a better dad, And then, do you use some of that fuel? I always wanted to ask you this, like, do you use some of that fuel that you had coming up, like when you're fighting for people and you're doing things for people, like they walk in with the door, and they got a situation, man, and they're bringing it to you. I mean, how do you use that fuel to say like, okay, we got this?
Yeah, I think it's more that you never know what somebody's going through, right? And if they're coming to you, that you always need to just have your best foot forward, and know that maybe if somebody's a little off that day, you don't really know maybe what was going on behind the scenes. And so I think it's fuel in the sense that every day, if we have a client come in that wants our help, man, we are blessed to have that opportunity, and we need to give them a little bit of grace if they're, maybe not in the best of moods, and it's been amazing to me over the years how many times, a client will start off, they're hurt, they're in pain, physical pain, also oftentimes also emotional pain, maybe feeling inadequate. They're not able to pay certain bills, provide for their children. And by the end of it, they're feeling better. Things are, looking up for them, and they're a completely different person. I think that's the fuel I have, is to say, man, I got to bring it every day, because you're asking me, you're giving me the ability, the honor, to help you out. And so I need to have some grace and understand that not everybody is having their best day every day. So we got to know that there's a lot more going on there.
Where do you think you got that from? That whole helpful spirit, man. I mean, how do you think that got into you? Because it seems like it's infectious within your firm. Now, it's not just with you; it's within the firm. So, where did you get that?
I got to give my mom credit. She has always said, when people didn't maybe make her happy, she would rather kill them with kindness. And she even still to this day, she'll say, so-and-so maybe was ugly, but you know what? I'm just going to I'm going to kill them with kindness. Yeah. And that's how I'm going to approach things. And I really think that, she and I got through, losing my dad, her husband, and just with this attitude of like, we're just going to make the best out of this. And we're going to always think the glass is half full. And so I think I've always just approached every situation as optimistically as possible, because I can't worry about the what ifs. I can't worry about the negative, because I can't change a lot of that, and it doesn't do me any good. And so, you were talking about Jess earlier. She's a little bit more of a worrier, and I'm like, if I can't control it, man, I'm not going to worry about it. All right,
Jess is listening, so be careful. You know what I mean?
Oh, she's heard me say this a million times. And that's the yin and the yang of a marriage, right? You balance each other out. Sometimes I probably don't worry enough. And so it's a blessing and a curse, but I think it's more of a blessing.
Now you just said, you mentioned, the yin and yang and balancing things out, and in your firm there's four of you guys, and if one didn't know you, they would think you guys are all best friends. So tell me, what's that dynamic like? With a lot of people that are used to seeing one or two partners, but you guys have four, and how do you make that work? How do you make that partnership work?
Yeah, it's a really good question. We get that one a lot. And it's a yin and a yang, and being in a partnership, whether it's, one partner, two partners, or three partners, it's got its ups and downs, right? You're going to
Yeah.
have disagreements. And
Yeah.
I always kind of liken it to, I guess the Mormons, and I go, I don't know how they do it, being
Mhm.
married and having, multiple spouses, because it's not easy.
Right.
You just have more problems, right?
Yeah.
And so, one day you have a great relationship with spouse one, but spouse two is not happy, and spouse
Mhm.
three, is not happy as well. You go, man, I thought things were going well.
Yeah.
I think communication is really key, to making sure that it works, though,
Mhm.
and brutal honesty. Not
That's true.
sugarcoating things. I really think those are some of the secrets here. Effective communication. One of the things that we realized early on, sometimes we'd have a group chat going on the on the iPhone, right? And somebody would say something and it would be taken out of context. It wasn't meant one way, but it was taken one way, and all of a sudden that just snowballed
Yeah.
into a big argument. We're like, what just happened?
Right.
So we became more deliberate about picking up the phone and saying, hey, I have this issue, right?
Yeah.
And so really it's amazing to me, how important communication is, as we go through every day, and making sure that we're all on the same page, that we, before all that, it's, you got to have the same vision, mission,
Yeah.
and values, right? If you have those three things together, then all of these have to work, right? These are kind of
That's
the
right.
day to day, but that's communication is probably the number one thing. And I think that goes for your marriage as well. Just over communicate. And that's something I need to do a better job at.
So now let me ask you this part. You just talked about, communication, mission, and values. Now, running a law firm, I mean, and you guys have a growing practice. How important is the culture of the firm? And also, how do you keep, especially in today's time, because employees are different than they were 10 years ago, 5 years ago. How do you remain positive? How do you do that, Brandon?
Well, I think it started at the very beginning, that when we branched off from the firm that we were at previously, we recognized that the culture there was not what we wanted it to
Mhm.
be, if we were going to have and get to design our own culture. And that, to me, is why we are where we are today, is because of the focus that we have put on culture. And
Mhm.
I'll give a shout out to your previous podcast guest, Bill Biggs.
Yeah, man.
I met Bill in 2016, maybe 2015. And I went out and visited. He was at Daniel Stark at the time.
Yeah.
And I believed him, and that you got to love your people, but,
Love and
set high
accountability.
expectations, right?
Yeah, love and accountability.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I think when we started the firm here, it was like, culture matters. Culture actually doesn't just matter. Culture is king. And so we started hiring more for culture than anything else. So if
Hmm.
you're not a culture fit, then you're not going to be here.
Yeah.
We have let go of people who were, high producers, high earners, right? That did not fit our culture. I mean, we try to fix, we try to redirect, and we want to make everybody successful here. But we also realize that that's not the world we live in.
That's true. That's true, Brandon.
You're never going to bat 1,000. And we certainly wish those people the best, but they're just not a fit here.
Mhm.
And so if you don't have respect, if you don't comply with the rules that we have here, and we're not some super strict firm, we're pretty laid back.
Yeah.
But if you can't be respectful, and if you can't listen to the chain of command, then you're just not gonna work out. And so we've had some amazing hires. I think a couple of our first hires, we got really lucky.
Mhm.
That they were just amazing fits, and we were very intentional about it. But we were also lucky that they happened to be the ones that applied and made it through.
Yeah.
And they have helped grow that, right? So then it's having other people share that same culture, that mission, that vision, right?
Yeah.
That mission to provide that 5-star client experience to all injury victims. And so I really think, I said earlier, clients are amazing, right? We value them. They are so amazing. But I actually think that your team is more valuable. And a lot of people think it's the other way around. And, the clients are always right. The customer is always right. And I lean that way, but there's a certain point where you have to say, you know what? No, I look at it objectively and defend your employees, your team members, right?
Yeah.
They're in the right. And there might be ways to redirect and help out if there's some sort of, disagreement with a client, but they appreciate that when they know that you have their back. And I've been very, very blessed to have 3 amazing partners that all have that same mentality, that have gotten on the phone when there's been somebody, yelling at one of our people for no reason, right?
Yeah.
And say, you can't talk to them like that. And if that's how you want to talk, then there's another firm for you. But that's not how we talk to our people here.
Man.
And people, people appreciate that, and because no one deserves to get talked to, in a way like that.
Oh, so, man, that's awesome, and I think that's so truthful. And me kind of putting myself out there. There was a point in time where I didn't think team first. You know what I mean? And it disrupted. It was a point where we didn't have a culture, even in our own organization. At one time, I was trying to be a dictator, and it ended up being an asshole to people. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I think that mindset, like what you just said, I mean, Brandon, that's the right way to go, because your people will respect you so much more when they see you standing up for them. They'll run through fire for you. So I think that's amazing, man, that you guys do that. And the fact that there's 4 of you guys and you guys are rowing that boat in the same direction when it comes to your team members, I think that's amazing. But hopefully, you're taking care of them. They take care of the client.
That's exactly right. That's why you do it. And that's why I think it's important. If you actually think about it, if you do it that way and you treat your team members amazing, then you get great people. And guess what? Great people do. They provide great experiences for your clients. And so it's working it that way downstream instead of upstream.
Right.
If we start with getting amazing people and have an amazing culture, well, then there's going to be amazing people that can help our amazing clients. So yeah, it really is. It's one of those things. I think there's a shift going on in that, in the industry, where people are starting to recognize that the people you have, the culture you keep, is really the most important thing for your clients at the end of the day.
I agree with you. A good friend of mine, his name's Chris Doe. He's like a world-renowned artist and all. And one of the things he said, Eric, when I hire for culture and competency, is what he says. And I think that's just amazing. So now let's talk about this client experience that you guys are building, because a lot of the ads that I've seen, it's all about the client. You're putting them out there. It's not like, hey, I want to be the superstar, so how hard is it? Is it hard for a firm to build a great client experience?
You have to be intentional. And I think that's impatient, right? My grandmom who passed away earlier this year at 102.
Wow.
Told me, Brandon, Rome wasn't built in a day. She told me that a couple of years after the firm was open, and I was saying, it's just things are going well. I just wanted to go faster and move faster, and and her wise self said, Brandon, Rome wasn't built in a day, and it really it's stuck with me. Even to the point I was giving her eulogy, and I said I'd still remember, that it was so impactful to me that I have to sometimes be more patient. And so, to answer your question is yes, I think that, you can build that, but you have to be intentional about it. And you have to understand that it's not going to happen, tomorrow or next year. It's doing the right thing day after day after day after day, keeping your head down, not asking for praise, not saying, look at me,
right.
Having people go out and say, man, the Thumbs Up guys did an amazing job for me.
Yeah.
And then one person turns into 2, and 2 turns into 4, and so on and so on. And all of a sudden you look up and, we're 6 years in, and, we're signing, almost 200 cases a month. But it didn't start there, it didn't even get close. It was,
Brandon, we know, we know, but
it was like, if we could get 10, man, this is amazing. And so it really is, if you do a great job, people want to share that. And not everybody will. Ken Hardison talks a lot about this, that 20% never will. They're just not going to. 20%, they definitely will. They'll figure out a way. And that other 60%, they just need some help. You just have to kind of remind them, here's how to do it.
Yeah.
And so we want to make sure that, we're creating raving fans out there that, they're going to tell all their friends and their family about, how great their experience was here. And, and there's some very intentional things that we've done inside the firm.
And don't put your secrets out, because we don't want anybody to take your secrets. All right.
No, I mean, it's client communication. I think, George Sink has done a great job of this. There's some other firms, across the nation, but I think here locally, Georgia knows how important it is to communicate and set expectations appropriately. And so, we're not reinventing the wheel. We're just tweaking it.
Brandon, let's tell me about that. I want to go right back to what you just said, because I think it sounds like you guys are just kind of creating like the book Raving Fans, or advocates for the thumbs up guy, Miller, Dawson, Siegel, and Wards. Is that super important for you? Because I just heard you talk about this, and you just said experience. You were talking about the experience with him. You didn't say, for us to make the most money or get the most money from him. You just talked about experience. Why is that so important?
Anybody can get you money at the end of the day. Obviously there's a spectrum of who's better at it, right? But I will tell you this: if you have a client come in and you have the same case, so you have client A and client B, same exact case, same everything. And in one of them, they have the most amazing experience ever. When they sign up, they get a nice, custom handwritten letter, or, thank you for, signing up, whatever it might be. They're getting called all the time. When they call, they're getting answers, and things go really, really well.
Wow.
But let's say they get $15,000. Same case. Other case over here, they don't really hear from their attorney. They call in, they get ignored. The attorney's so busy doing whatever it is, but he just can't, have time to call his client, not sending any thank you notes, not doing anything special, but he gets $30,000.
Yeah.
Who do you think is going to be happier? Who do you think is going to go tell all their friends? Well, it's client A, because his experience was so much better.
Wow.
Client B over here, he had a better result, but he didn't have a great experience. People go places for experiences. Now results matter, right?
Yeah.
And we put a lot of emphasis on results, and we've got a lot of, safeguards in place to make sure that, every case is getting the right amount of eyeballs on it. And if it's a certain threshold, it's getting extra work up. So there's a whole host of things you can do to make sure that the result side is there. But so many people don't focus on the experience. They just focus on the results and think the client should say, "Oh, well, thank you so much. You are so great. You got me $30,000. And I know that you never answered any of my questions." They just want to talk to somebody. They just want to be heard.
Yeah.
So we need to meet them with what their expectations are. And some clients might not need to hear from you that much, but damn it, we're going to call you every 21 days, whether you like it or not, and check in on you and make sure everything's going okay.
Dude.
That's what you deserve. And you don't have to pick up the phone, but we're going to keep calling. So I just think that in the world we're at today, that experience matters.
Brandon, man, let me tell you, brother, I'm so happy to hear you say that. And I can tell you, from even knowing you, I know that's no bullshit. I think that's an amazing thing to say. And hopefully people, when they hear you say this, they really feel it, coming through a TV screen or a phone or wherever you're delivering your message, because I think that's so important. Like you said, anyone can get you money. We're going to go to break, but before we go to break, I'm going to tell you, I think the four of you guys probably need to start coaching some attorneys. I don't know if you think you're ready, but I do. I think you're ready. So we're going to take a break.
It's up there in the think bank. So I appreciate it.
I like it. We're going to take a break, pay some bills, and come right back. Okay, buddy? All right.
Hold tight, listeners. We're taking a brief pause. Going forward, we'll be back shortly with more insightful conversations.
Running your law firm is a serious business. When you actually got out of law school, they didn't teach you how to market your business, or they didn't teach you exactly the business of running a law firm. And that's what we do. We want to be able to come in and work with you and your firm so that, one, you can start marketing your firm correctly, coach you on how to get to the next level and where you want to get your law firm. And most importantly, we don't want you to be one of those law firms who are a laughing stock of the community. Don't hire a marketing agency that's going to make you look like a buffoon online or social media and try and make you to be something that you are not. It's time for you to start running your firm the right way. Go to VIPmarketing.com.
Welcome back to Going Forward. We hope you're recharged because we've got an exciting second half waiting for you. Get ready to dive deeper and be inspired. Let's keep the momentum going.
Going Forward Nation, I am back with my man, Brandon Dawson. 25% of those thumbs up guys right here on the line with me, man. And Brandon, you dropped some jewels, man. You said anyone can get you money, and it's all about the experience that you guys are delivering over at Miller, Dawson, Siegel, and Ward, also known as those thumbs up guys around town. So I want to kind of go to something else. I want to talk about, why the thumbs up guys, why the thumbs up guys, and has that served you well? Because there's so many, everyone's kind of fighting for attention. Do you feel like it helped you stand out more?
Yeah, I think that was probably the best decision we made. And, we struggled with the branding of Miller, Dawson, Siegel, and Ward. We still get checks from some insurance companies that say Miller, Dolphin, Siegel, and Whale or something like that. Literally, it's Dolphin instead of Dawson. So, no one remembers that name, right? Even MDSW, people are like, well, in S, what was that again?
Right.
So we realized early on that we had to find something sticky. And the thumbs up guys, it's turned into that. And, when we came across the thumbs up guys brand, we were kind of going, I don't know, but it's got to feel good.
Those are the ones though, Brandon. Those are the ones, man.
And so, it fit. And the more we leaned into it, right, the more it was like, all right, like, yes, like this actually connotes everything that we stand for. Right. Yeah. It's just this positive vibe. I mean, again, our goal was to have an office culture where the doors are open, people can pop in, ask questions, everybody's friendly, going to hang out after work and just, being cohesive in our thoughts and our ideas and how we treat our clients. And so it really just stood for everything we did. So I think that it kind of worked well, that we had the same mentality as what the brand stood for. And I think we helped kind of elevate it because of that.
So you guys have a thumbs up culture as well.
That's right. That's exactly right.
I like that, man. Brandon, who are some of the people, because you're one of those people, I see you as one of those people who are constantly studying their craft, right? Who are some people that you reach out to, that you listen to be able to get some inspiration from? Who inspires you?
Man, that's a great question. I listen to so many podcasts. I listen to your podcast.
Thank you.
And I really like ones that aren't just legal. Because I like to have business-minded podcasts that go across all of them. Michael Mogul does a tremendous job. Chris, of getting some amazing people on there. Not everyone is of his podcast is like hits home for me, but that's fine. I think he does a tremendous job. Alex Hermosi does an amazing job. I mean, he's somebody who's been super successful in growing businesses. Then, I do nerd out on the legal stuff and listen to, Ken Hardison. I listen to Tim Mackey over at Vista. Chad Dudley, and if I can, pick his brain, Mickey Love, Bill Biggs, there's so many great people in the industry. Chris Dryer's podcast is great.
Yeah, Chris is good. He's a good buddy too. Him, Mike Mogul's been on before too.
And so, I'm always trying to find kind of new podcasts to listen to. And then, then I'll listen to my, Wall Street Journal and the Daily and, some other stuff like that. And then, reading books and going to different seminars. I was just up at, in New York a couple of weeks ago with my partner, Ryan Miller, and we were at a Vista mastermind, just trying to surround yourself with people that are smart and like-minded and, taking away one or two ideas out of that, creating relationships. I got to meet Brian Ritchie, who's out of North Carolina, runs a great firm up there, and quickly becoming fast friends with him. I mean, he's an amazing guy. I think he's got great ideas. So, I think that's really been one of the things that's really propelled me, is just surrounding myself with people that are smarter than me.
Yeah.
Being humble enough to say, I don't know everything, and just trying to, remember what your mama told you is, you got 2 ears and 1 mouth. So shut up and listen.
There you go, brother.
I tell my kids all that all the time. Like, just listen. God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. And I remember my grandmama telling me that growing up too, So I just try to be a sponge, man. That's, I think, really, I read a lot of books, but probably more podcasts than anything.
Brandon, like you just said, you're kind of consuming from a lot of people. And what we know is, like, laws changing, business changing, things are moving faster. With all the technology, do you find that it makes it easier to be able to run a firm now with the technology that's out there now?
I think you can run a firm more efficiently. I don't know if it's easier, is kind of a relative term.
Okay.
I think that you can be more efficient. You can give your clients a better experience. You can move a case probably quicker than you could have in the past.
Yep.
Make sure that, less things are slipping through the cracks with what we have today versus paper files of, yesteryear. So, there's pros and cons to it. Technology can make people lazy too. And so we have to be really intentional of not letting Chat GPT write our briefs, but utilizing, there's great AI out there with Perplexity, and, there's a couple other ones I can't remember off, obviously Even Up and some other ones, but Perplexity has been great to kind of pump in, a 30B6 depot notice and say, hey, give me some topics to talk about here. It's a starting point. So I think that on the legal side, there's the practice of law and making that easier or
very good.
And then there's also, marketing, you see so much of that with, give me some ideas for social media posts, but you can't have it go write your blog post. Right. And then you've got, the actual kind of business of law and, the new CRMs and how we can automate things. So there's a lot out there. So that's what I was saying. It's easier, but harder, because there's so many more things, and the expectation is higher and higher and higher, right? 20 years ago, your clients weren't expecting to get an email, a text message, a phone call, all of these things kind of automating every day, right? And we have chasing journeys, that they're automated in their text and email, boom, 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 boom. But if you're not doing it, somebody else is, and you're getting right. And so, the competition is there, and it makes it really easy for your people to elevate and get into the game. I think some people think it's harder to get into the PI game today. I think it's easier with social media and technology to break in. TV is still super expensive and all that, but I think there's a lot of ways to kind of get in for less money. Guerrilla marketing, getting your name out there is a lot easier with social media. You know that better than anybody.
Oh yeah, I'm a fan of it. I'm a fan of it. You bring up an interesting topic, because, like, let's just say the market, Charleston, Savannah, I was looking at some reports, and I mean, like, at some point they were spending more money in Savannah than they were in, like, one of the markets we work in like Boston. And we were like, this is insane. So how do you stand out when you got the bigger spenders? I mean, you can't out Walmart. We already know that. So how can you make sure that you're standing out? How can a law firm make sure they're standing out?
Yeah, I think we've got the Morgan and Morgans of the market, right? And you, like you said, you're not going to outspend John Morgan.
No.
It's just not going to happen. I don't care if you're the number one in your state, you're not outspending John Morgan, probably in most states. Even if you are the biggest in your state. So I think it goes back to what we said earlier about experience. And, from what I hear, the experience there sometimes isn't necessarily the same level, because you're getting, volume versus, that personal touch.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that's different that you can do that's free, right? Is talk to your clients, do the free things, show up, deliver on your promises, set expectations, and then meet or beat them. Never over promise and under deliver, always under promise and over deliver. So, I think those are ways. And I think the other, really the best way to do it is kind of what we were talking about with social media, getting your name out there and going out and doing stuff in the community. You can show up and help and volunteer and get your name out there and feel good about yourself, right?
Yeah.
And doing some of these things. So I think early on when we first started, we had a lot of time on our hands and not a lot of money, right? And all we're doing in life is trading time for money. And that's really all this is, right? We're working so that we can buy some time later to go do some things. And the sooner you realize that actually time is the most valuable currency, not, dollars and cents.
Right. Yeah.
You really start to rethink things. And so it's the same thing with business. Again, early on, you have a lot of time. And so use your time wisely, right? You have to think about time as currency. And so every day, if you go, all right, I think it's like 1,200 minutes in the day or something like that. And 800 of those, $800, right? How am I going to spend that? Think about it. Like, how are you going to spend it? Not just like, let it, idly go by, be intentional about it. That goes a long way, man. That goes a really long way.
You brought up community, and that's one of the things that was on my mind, because you guys have like the scholarship that's out there too. I've seen you give donations as well. Why is that so important? I mean, you guys are, law firms are on, I've seen them all across the country, man, and everyone's trying to make a withdrawal, but no one's making a deposit. And it looks like you guys are making the deposits. Why is that so important?
Well, you said earlier, like, I grew up here, and I have seen Charleston go from kind of a sleepy little town to, it's bustling, man. There's hustle here. It's growing and growing and growing. And I love that, right? You're either growing or you're dying, as John Morgan says.
Yeah.
And I think the same is true for a city, right? And for me, if I can positively impact this city, this town, it's going to make it better for my kids and my grandkids and for everybody out there. And I feel like I have an obligation to do that. We as a firm have an obligation to do that. And all of a sudden we get to this point where we have the financial means to be able to do it. Well, man, if we're not doing that, then shame on us. I mean, really, like, if you have the means to be able to help others and you're not, I'd say, man, look in the mirror and ask why. Like, what are you doing?
Damn, Brandon. Damn.
This year, we set a goal at the beginning of the year to positively impact 10,000 people in the Charleston, South Carolina community. And we are well on our way to doing that. And that's been, from scholarships to, summer donations. But really, I think the one I was most proud of recently is we did the book bag giveaway. So we gave away over 1,000.
With Sharika Myers, I believe.
Yeah. And so, we were really intentional about finding somebody to work with that was doing good stuff in our community. And Mayor Burgess put us in touch with Sharika, and, she has been such a godsend to work with and so great to, she's out there boots on the ground. Right. And I said, look, you got that down. I don't, that's not my forte. Right. But how can I help you do it? And we had, 30 plus people show up from the firm to help during that event, to give book bags away and, just help serve the community. Cause you know what it's like, if you're a kid with no education, and you don't have the books and the book bag and all that, well, that's putting you behind the 8 ball. And I don't want to see that here. Education's so key. And then we've got the Christmas bike giveaway. So, in a perfect world, I'd love to see every single kid here in Charleston have at least one present to open on Christmas.
Yeah, right.
That is such a special time. And, I'm lucky that I get to relive that, through my kids' eyes these days. But I also realize how blessed I was and how blessed they are. Right. There's no worry that, they're not going to have presents on Christmas, but there's a lot of kids who wake up and they don't have that. And they go to school and they go, well, man, Santa Claus not like me. Right. What did I do wrong? And that, and it's a great little kid that's done nothing wrong. And so, man, if you could give them one thing. And so, I don't know, I'm really excited about being able to help with that. And we just want to continue to do more. I mean, I can promise you that much, that the Thumbs Up guys will continue to give more and more and more. Not only our time, or not only our money, but also our time. I think that, again, goes back to what I said earlier. The most valuable asset you have is your time. And we want to give that too. We want to show up and not just be, a blank check. We want to, because we care. And I like, connecting with people in the community and letting them know that. So yeah, there's, like you said, there's the Friday Night Rivals and the other scholarships and things of that nature. But these two are the ones that are near and dear to my heart, because it's with the younger kids.
Dude, that's awesome, man. I only know what I've seen, out there and what you guys have done. But Brandon, that's pretty damn good, man. That's pretty awesome that you guys are doing that, and all you guys are committed to that. How do you connect with the customers, with your clients beyond the paperwork? You know what I mean? Because we talk about that good client experience, right? I'll use the folks like I have a vehicle from. Like, it doesn't stop after you've purchased or after they've done business with you. Having a great experience is this even after the sale too. Yeah. So how do you do that? How do you guys do that beyond like when everything stops, Brandon?
Yeah, I think, again, it's going back to being intentional and saying, all right, what do we want this experience to look like? And our marketing director and I were talking about this, and Ross has such great vision and understands, what we want to provide in terms of that client experience. And, we were talking about, what does it look like when they finally resolve their case and they get their check? So many times it's like this transaction of like, here's your check, and, get out of here. Yeah. And it feels, I'll mail it. Right. And I'm like, we just spent 2 years, 3 years, whatever the amount, in some of these big cases, working like crazy, working hard together to get you to this point. We're going to treat it like it's kind of a, here you go, back alley, it shouldn't be like that. Right. It should be a celebration. So it goes back to being super intentional, after the fact, building out different platforms that can help you follow up and stay in touch with your clients. So, whether it be newsletters, quarterly emails there. I guess we have a monthly newsletter, staying in touch with them. I think it's something we continue to think, how can we do a better job of this? We've got some journeys built out where, they're getting birthday messages. Again, and it's something we look to continue to improve upon. But I also think if we're out in the community, we're giving back, they know that we still care. And I think that's an important part of it as well. Yeah, I think there's a lot of stuff you can do, but the little things are just, remember when their birthday is. People, some people don't get anything on their birthday. So if you can be the one person that sends them a card that says, happy birthday, Eric, you might have made their day. I mean, that's the best thing they got their birthday. I mean, it's sad, but it's true on some of them.
It's true, brother.
So it's little things matter. Let's just do a lot of little things. Like I said at the very beginning, when you're building something, you just keep your head down, keep working. And, eventually you look up and you go, wow, I've touched the lives of, thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people. And if you do a good job, people want to tell other people.
Brandon, where do you want the law firm to be in 5 years?
All over the Southeast. I want to keep growing. I've got some goals I'll keep, a little closer to chest, but I want us to be in, where we have offices in the, Charleston, Somerville, West Ashley area. We've got a couple offices here. And then we also have an office up in Columbia. I want us to be all over the state. We will be all over South Carolina. We already serve those areas, but I want offices in, Greenville, Myrtle Beach, Florence, get down to Georgia, as well. I think there's a great opportunity to help people there and show them what, a great client experience looks like. And then just continue to make decisions, as they come up, I think. But in the next 3 to 5 years, we 100% will have offices in every major city here in South Carolina and likely in Georgia as well.
What's something that you want listeners and other people to know about your law firm that they don't know now?
I think that who you hire matters. We said earlier, client A and client B. Well, we combine those two, right? Great results and great client experience. Yeah. And so, I'd say who you hire matters. Not all injury lawyers are the same. There's a bunch of great ones out there. But there's a bunch of ones out there that, it's not like doctors where you have a specialty, and you're a cardiologist and you work on the heart, right? Lawyers, we can practice in anything. that doesn't mean that we're good at everything. So, well, I can't use the word specialize as you know too well.
Oh yeah.
All we do are injury claims. So, if you're hurt in a car wreck, if you're hurt in work, we do a lot of trucking cases as well. It's another area that's very niche. It's very different than a car wreck. And so I think who you hire matters, and just do your homework. I tell clients, don't do yourself a disservice, especially if you're in a very serious accident. You could be impacting your entire life by hiring the wrong firm, the wrong person. And I think we do a tremendous job, but just do your research. I just don't want somebody hiring somebody that doesn't know what they're doing. I think the old adage is, what's the best way to get $1 million for a case is to undersettle a $2 million case. So, that can happen. People go, man, I had a great result. Well, in reality, you did. And so, we're super intentional about how we focus group cases, how we set, maximum settlement values for cases, to make sure that the cases aren't undersettled, right? We're local to South Carolina. We're not undersettling cases just to get them off our desk. And if we don't think that it's every dollar you deserve, then screw it. We're taking it to trial. We've tried a couple cases this year.
I like hearing you say that.
So we're excited to try more cases. And so that's another area that we're really trying to put an emphasis on, is getting into the courtroom and trying cases.
And explain that to people. And I got one more question for you after that, but explain that to people, because a lot of folks, like you said, who you hire is so important. They'll see the lawyer hour of television commercials and they have no idea. And sometimes they assume the best lawyer is the one who has the most frequency on television. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So tell them that difference between, like what you just said, hey, we will try a case. Tell them the difference between them.
Yeah, I think the important part there is the insurance companies know who we are, and they know who, other law firms are, and they know their track record. And so, and again, we're all over TV, billboards, radio, we're everywhere too, but there's other people that are out there, just do your homework, because the insurance company knows that your case under our roof might be worth 3 to 5x more than it's underneath somebody else's roof, because of their track record. And they go, well, firm B over here, well, the same, they run all the metrics. They go, well, they'll settle that thing for 10 grand. And, when we send it, we go, well, this case is worth 100 grand. We're not taking any less than that. And they know, they go, well, shit, last time we didn't pay them, they, filed on it. And then we blew a Tiger River demand, and all of a sudden we're paying extra contractual money. We just had one today where they paid out money they shouldn't have paid out before they talked to our client. And I think there was a couple, maybe it was $100,000 in coverage. And I think we've recovered over $500,000 now. So we're saying, hey, you guys aren't doing your damn job, insurance company. You're cheating people. And we're going to hold your feet to the fire, and we're not going to back down. And, we're not going to, okay, well, it's okay this time. It's never okay, And so we want to make sure that our clients get the maximum result they can. And like I said, at the end of it, if we don't think it's every penny you deserve, we'll take it to trial. And the insurance companies know that's where you get the most value, is either right before trial or at trial. So we don't, we're in a fortunate spot. We don't need the money, it's not like we have to settle a case to pay, next month's payroll. I'd much rather, go in with a client and say, hey, look, let's go take a swing if you're good with it. And, that's a good place to be. And there's not every firm can say that.
That's awesome. What does going forward mean to you?
Well, I think it's, what we talked about earlier, that tomorrow's not guaranteed, and that, we have to have an optimistic outlook on today and make the most of today, because, going forward, we don't know what that's going to look like, but the decisions we make today are going to impact where we're going tomorrow.
Mic drop. Brandon, what would you say to your 9-year-old self?
Keep grinding. Things will get better, and everything happens for a reason. That's something I, to this day, to my core, believe, that everything happens for a reason. And a lot of times in the moment, in the months, in the years after something happens, you don't understand the why, but it happened for a reason. That 9-year-old me, I remember asking God, why did you take my dad? And it shaped me with who I am today. I would be a very different person if that didn't happen. Not to say that I wish it didn't happen, right? But God had a plan for me, and his plan is what got me here today. And I'm just trying to make the most of every day I have to make the best, most positive impact I can in this world. And that starts with my wife and my kids. And then it goes down to everybody at this law firm, all 50 plus of us, impacting them positively so they can go out and impact, our thousands of clients. And you just want it to spread. So that's what I'd say. It's just everything happens for a reason, and just trust the process, trust God.
Brandon, I think your grandmother and I think your dad are super proud of you, brother. I love everything I heard you say, man. I can really feel that intensity over here, man. And I'm proud to know you. And, I can clap a lot louder now, knowing a lot more behind everything, man. So kudos to you and everyone there at Miller, Dawson, Siegel, and Ward, man. I think you're doing an amazing job, brother. Keep it up and keep going forward, man. Keep going forward. That was my last question for you, brother. And, I just want you to hang on the line just for 1 second. But, for those people out there, man, who gave us your most valuable asset, which is your time, we thank you so much, man, for everything. And thank you, Brandon, for sharing your story. And thank you for your partners at Miller, Dawson, Siegel, and Ward, the Thumbs Up guys, for letting you be on with us today. Thank you. Shout out to Jess, your wife, your amazing wife that you gave a shout out to. And also shout out to your mom as well for being as strong as she did, raising the man that she did today. Sometimes women can do a better job than men raising men.
Oh, yeah.
Other than that, Brandon, how do they find you? All right. How do people find you? We heard all this great stuff about you. How do they find you, man?
Man, just Google the Thumbs Up guys. We'll pop up. It's as easy as that. We've got all the URLs and things, but I just tell people these days, Google the Thumbs Up guys. You'll find us. And thank you so much, Eric, for having me on here. It's such an honor and a pleasure to talk to you. I could do this all day.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you.
If you enjoyed today's episode, please take a moment to rate our podcast and share it with a friend. Every share, every comment, every rating propels us forward. For more content, insights, and updates, visit ericelliott.com. Remember, your journey, your story is what keeps us going forward. Until next time.